It is election day in Ohio, and the polls open in just under a half hour across the state.
The Hamilton County Board of Elections says voter turnout for the primary is up compared to early voting for the last Cincinnati mayoral primary. Even record turnout possible. Joining us now is Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose. Good morning to you, Secretary. It is a rainy day, which we know may affect turnout here in Cincinnati. What are you expecting statewide?
Well, what we're expecting is that in about 30 minutes, polls are going to open all over Ohio, thousands of them, and we're looking forward to seeing Ohioans come out and cast their ballots in important elections. Now, not every precinct, not every county in Ohio has an election, but check voteohio.gov if you have any questions. Of course, right there in the Cincinnati area, there are a number of important issues on the ballot, and we know that the people are interested in making their voices heard today.
All right, Secretary, there's a bill in the process right now that would rewrite Ohio's election laws, including reducing early voting days and prohibiting ballot drop boxes, but adding things like online mail-in ballot requests. Take us through this, if you would. What do you think we need, don't need? Where do you stand on this?
Well, Julie, the good news is Ohio doesn't need to make humongous changes. This is not a radical rewrite of the Ohio election laws. What I would consider it is some small adjustments. And again, this is a bill that's being proposed in the legislature right now. One part that is incorrect, though, is it doesn't really reduce the early voting opportunities. What it does is it takes off that last day before Election Day, which is the Monday before Election Day, but it replaces those same hours in the weekend before, when it's really more convenient for voters and for the poll workers and our boards of elections. And so Ohio would still have that 216 hours of early voting that are among the most generous sets of hours in the entire country. That's something that we're proud of. We want it to be easy to vote in Ohio, but there are some modernizations included as well. Like, for example, offering online absentee ballot request. It's time that we have that in Ohio. We've got right now a requirement that you have to send a dead tree piece of paper to the Board of Elections to request a ballot. And so, my hope is that the legislature can work through this process in a thoughtful way, and we can take what really is the best set of election laws in the country and make it even better. So again, it's accessible and easy to vote in Ohio, but also that we do smart things to make sure that it's an honest process.
Obviously, a lot of people heading out today to the polls. Secretary, I want to talk a little bit about something downrange. Ohio's been very vocal about trying to get the 2020 Census Bureau data. The Attorney General even sued to try and get that from the Biden administration. How is this impacting the redistricting process here in Ohio? We know we're losing a seat in Congress, so do we know when we might see the new districts here?
Well, of course, when we have to have those done is by the fall of this year, so that candidates can start to circulate their petitions and get issues and get their names on the ballot and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, you're right, the Census Bureau is dramatically delayed. We would normally have those numbers already. We would be starting that bipartisan process of working to draw new district lines that's laid out in the new constitutional amendment that Ohio created over the last few years. But unfortunately, the Census Bureau is telling us they're not going to have those numbers until September. That's why the Attorney General and I worked on an issue to try to get a lawsuit done to compel the Census Bureau effectively to do their duty and get us the numbers that they owe us. But again, it's a process that takes a lot of time, even once we do get the numbers, because it requires a level of bipartisan consensus building to get those lines drawn. Certainly, again, by the time the holidays come this year, we're going to have those lines in place. I don't want to give a specific date, but candidates deserve to have time to circulate their petitions and get on the ballots. And certainly, we're going to have that done by the later part of this year.
We have about 30 more seconds, Secretary. I do want to ask you, since all the major changes came into play because of the pandemic, what do you think is going to really stick? What's the big picture you want voters in Ohio to know?
Well, of course, all of the same safeguards that we had in place in November are in place today. When you come to your polling location, you're going to find a safe and healthy environment, both for voters and for poll workers. And, I think that one of the lasting things is going to be this. I hope this is our last pandemic election, right? I hope we emerge beyond that. Everybody gets vaccinated. We were doing it at the early voting site there in Hamilton County. But once the pandemic is long in the rearview mirror, I think many Ohioans will continue to enjoy early and absentee voting because they will have learned that it's a convenient and a honest way and a secure way to cast your ballot.
All right, Secretary Frank LaRose, thank you for joining us so early on this election day. We appreciate your time.
Happy Election Day.